What are the telltale signs of a dangerously toxic relationship? Like, how do you know that it can possibly turn dangerous? Stick around. My next guest is going to share her ordeal, her 7-year ordeal of trying to escape a very toxic relationship. So don't go anywhere. Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host, Alicia Couri, and this is Love My Body, Love Myself. We only have a few episodes left, and I know I'm going to be sad, but it will come back soon. So don't worry. We just are taking a break to relaunch our podcast, Leading with Audacious Confidence, which is going to be incredible. We have some really exciting guests on that. So let me first start off by welcoming those of you who are watching us on Facebook. Thank you for joining. If you are not yet part of the group, I encourage you to join our group. It is facebook.com/groups/LMBLM. And then for those of you who are on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/C/Alicia Couri. So you can go ahead and subscribe. We have this show, we have the podcast, we have Small Business Saturday shout out. I give tips and different ideas about business and growth and personal development, especially. We also will be launching our other show, which is Unleash Your Audacious Confidence, which airs on Win Win Women TV on Mondays. But we'll be sharing some of those episodes as well. And those are incredible. I mean, really, really deep, life transforming episodes. So look out for that coming soon to our YouTube channel. So if you're not yet on our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, it's youtube.com/C/Alicia Couri. And if you would like to be a guest on any of our shows or sponsor a show, please send us an email. And you can email support@aliciacouri.com and check and just let us know, hey, I want to be on one of your shows. They sound interesting. How can I be a guest, or how can I sponsor you? So the Love My Body, Love Myself show is sponsored by FAMU Mary and Audacious Concepts, Inc., and it is produced by Red Carpet CEO. Audacious Concepts, Inc. is a boutique consulting firm that specializes in developing audaciously proactive leaders. And we provide audacious solutions to those nagging and persistent people issues that clog your revenue pipeline. So for more information, visit us at audaciousconceptsinc.com. And FAMU Mary is advocating and educating for the legal use of medical marijuana. How do you get it? And what is the difference between the legal use of medical marijuana and what is the unlawful use of medical marijuana? And we will have we'll share a little bit more later on in the show about that during our commercial break. So please leave a comment if you find any of this information interesting. Now, this episode was pre-recorded it was pre-recorded, but if you leave your comments, we will respond to you, we'll connect with you, we will engage with you with your comments as you leave them. So go ahead and leave us comments in the comment box. Now, if you would like to connect with me, just go to alicia360.com, open up a browser, and it is ALICIA360.com, and connect with me. Now, my next guest has a very, very interesting story, and it's unfortunately not uncommon. And she was one who reached out to me online and said, I'd love to be on your show because I need to warn women about predatory men. And I really wanted to share this message, the ordeal that she went through for several years. She wanted to give you some of the warning signs that she overlooked. It's not that she missed them, she overlooked them. And that's huge. And so she wanted to come on and share that with you. So I'm going to turn this over now to Alicia. So, yes. Let me tell you a little bit about Meg, and then we will bring her right up. So Meg is a survivor of a 7-year abusive relationship that was physical, emotional, and stalking. In February of 2020, she planned to stop the craziness that she called her life for 7 years before a miracle came. And now her purpose in life is warning others about red flags and knowing that they are worth it when it comes to relationships. She is an awareness advocate and a storyteller. And welcome to the show, Meg.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for reaching out to be on the show. So tell me your story from when you realized that you were in a abusive relationship. How did all that happen?
Well, that's a part that kind of surprises me because I always thought of myself as have my head on my shoulders kind of girl and very smart, outgoing, that kind of person. And after a divorce, I got involved in a relationship that very quickly, and at that point, without my knowledge, pretty much became an abusive relationship patterns. The red flags I would tell people about, like being isolated, not talking to my family, knowing where I'm at every minute. And one night in December 2013, because this began in 2013, the big red flags came out because he had been recording my conversations and where my car was at via GPS. There was a camera in my car. He knew who was in my car, and he was furious that I had anybody else in my car, and went ballistic. And that was the first time that actually became physical. Up until that point, it was very emotional, very, into my mind kind of thing, I guess.
Like gaslighting and so
Gaslighting,
they have the love bombing and then the gaslighting. So they love
exactly.
bomb that
Yes,
you're the only one for me. There's nobody else, and always complimenting you and telling you how much they love you, and then the gaslighting that
yeah,
happens.
and it goes hand in hand. It's amazing how these people are very manipulative. They know exactly how to work it, just about how much loving to put in there, and then how much to kind of rail you in. And so I'd been working with this person pretty much night and day. Had a really big business he'd launched, and I was this side, like kind of his personal assistant, and it just became more and more every day. And then I was living there, and then it's like 24/7 you're with this person, and suddenly you're never without this person. Even if you went to get your nails done, they're like, why is it taking so long? Well, it told you to take 45 minutes. It's not going to be 39 minutes, that kind of thing. But it became really physical on this December night. And when I got home, took all my stuff out of my bags, throwing everything out all over the apartment, and physically punched me in the face and decided to strangle me, and was very, very physical. The first time I've ever been physically abused.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was abuse in your background, in your history, in your family anywhere?
It wasn't, my family, both my parents grew up in homes that weren't as stable as the one they gave me. But I grew up in a very stable home, loving family, very supportive people in my life. Even my ex-husband at that point was very supportive of me and trying to help me. But that night was kind of this eye opener, and I ran. I ran.
So shocked. Like,
Yeah.
Where did this come from? Like,
exactly. Where does this happen? How does this happen to somebody? You're just like, did you just hit me?
Yeah, just crazy. So I want to backtrack a little bit because I want to deconstruct some of what you said. You mentioned the isolation. How would systematically, because it doesn't happen where it's just like, don't see anybody ever again. It's a systematic isolation. How was that process? How did it unfold?
I would say it started even when I wasn't dating this person. There'd be a group of us that would go outside, take our breaks, and there was, I think, 2 males in that group, and it would be like, "What are you guys doing out there? What's happening out there?" And suddenly it was like, "Don't take breaks out there." That was like, I think if I had to go back, I would think that was one of the first steps that made me question. Wow, I
Because
should have.
that's
I
what
should
I
have right
want
there
people
go.
to hear. Yeah, like where did it start? Like what were
Where
the
in the beginning
things
did I
to
start where I
listen
should
to?
have maybe opened my eyes and said, "You're not in control of this," but then it would become, "Oh, where are you going?" And every time I would talk about going somewhere, he would come up with something more elaborate or something he just paid for, or we should go, let's go to this hotel and let's go to this expensive dinner, and I've already planned it, and the guilt would be set in on me that I was like, oh, okay.
Mm.
It was easier to cancel on my family and friends than it was to cancel on him, and so suddenly I would just always spend time with him. And I think that even worse, I 2 times since when I met him, I went home for visiting my family, a 4th of July, and then this December time.
Mhm.
And the 4th of July, the texts and the calling were so incessantly, like all the time. My family's like, "What is wrong with this person?" "Oh, he's just, he just needs help." "Oh, I'm working on the business thing." I make excuses as well for
Yeah.
him. And I
So if
didn't
you
even
find
realize,
yourself making excuses for their behavior, something's
yes,
at the red flag.
exactly. And there's
Right?
like, why did now looking back, you can go, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I have said, "This is ridiculous. I'm not being controlled like this." But those kind of things led to the isolation. And then just after work, "Oh, let's have dinner together." "Oh, before work, don't go into work early. Let's go into work together." It was always just, you're never apart from this person.
Mhm.
And
Person never wants you alone with
yeah,
someone else, or
you
they
never want
always
someone
want to
else's
keep their eye
opinions.
on you.
Yeah, and even at that point, that person, he had been between this time in March of December when the physical first happened. He had cameras in the house, in the home, and at first they were there for the business, and
Mhm.
then they were there for me. And it would be like, "Well, I saw you. What were you doing? Who
Who
were
are
you
you
talking
talking
to?"
to on the phone?
Exactly,
Why were
because
you
there's
on the
one right
phone
outside
for
the
that
porch.
long?
Right. I mean, half the time it was my son, and he would be really jealous of my son, talking to my son. "Why do you talk to him long? What are you talking so long for? What are you laughing about?" I'm like, "This is my kid," and he was going off to college that year, and so it was a big deal for me. I was missing him already. Um,
Wow.
so it was crazy.
I have this is crazy. And I want to go back to where you said, I'm a smart woman, because it's not about whether you're smart or not, I should say. And it's not about, you should have seen this coming, because like you said, they're very, very manipulative. They know what they're doing. Even if they're not consciously aware of what they're doing, they know how to, get you to do what it is they want you to do. What in you do you think made you feel this need for this person?
Well, I hate to say this feeling. When I got divorced, I left my husband. He was a great person. He was. We had this teammate philosophy. We have 2 kids, and so our schedules just, I had a schedule. We did this. We were a happy family, and everyone. But when we came home, we didn't talk. He doesn't like to talk about work. I'm a conversation person, and so this breakdown happened in our marriage. And so a little bit I was sharing with this guy when I was working with him, he was feeding on, and he knew. And so when we would travel when I was travel as his assistant, we would talk, and he would talk about everything and ask me questions. And
Mhm.
even I would say I used to do a lot of activity planning. And so I worked for a college, and I had all these amazing activities. I asked my ex-husband to go, and he'd be like, "Oh, I don't want to go tonight. I'd rather watch, the Nuggets, or, something on the TV." And so this person was like, "Let's go here together. Oh, this will be fun." He knew
He
exactly
was
my
feeding
weaknesses.
exactly what you needed.
Exactly. And
Mm.
we traveled, which I love to travel. So we were traveling with the company, and he was talking. I mean, we could go 18 hours, and he was still talking, and not just talking to talk, but he had interesting things to talk about.
Right.
And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it felt like this piece of my puzzle was kind of fitting together.
Mm-hmm.
And until the physical part came down, I probably would have kept making excuses for why my life was, not quite right with him, but it
Mm-hmm.
felt better than being alone in my relationship, which was a positive relationship. But I didn't have it.
It was just, yeah, I completely get it. So wow, that's really big, because when you've been starved for so long and you have that need, and then someone shows up that's feeding that need, you kind of in yourself make any excuse to justify the red flags. You overlook the red flags because this person is giving me exactly what I've been starving for.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you're smart. You're great. You've gotten it for the business purposes. Oh, you're a salesperson now. Oh, you're making lots of, you're bringing in the money. The clients love you. You look good on my arm. All these kind of things were just, you're like,
Giving you words of affirmation, giving you all the things that you're looking for. So how is that a red flag from your experience, that you can help women understand that kind of toxic, when it becomes toxic, when it's not just because he was love bombing you? So what's the difference between someone really genuinely expressing love for you and love bombing, which is dysfunctional?
the dysfunctional part comes and all the behaviors comes when it becomes obsessive. It's over the top. And I mean, there's the hi, I like you, and then I want to get married 2 days later. I love you that much. I can't live without you. That kind of talk is one of those major things. Is like, I can't see my life without you after a couple dates, or you make the world go around, but in a way that it also makes it feel creepy when someone says that after a couple days with you. But
it feels good. It feels good for someone for you to feel like someone connects with you so quickly. Like this is meant to be. This is fate.
Exactly. Yeah. And this person in the beginning will listen to you like he was listening to me before we even start dating, listening for those cues of where to fill your holes so that you won't. You just feel it because everything is coming together exactly how you were saying it was missing, or what you need in a relationship. If someone says, "Oh, I want this guy who does this and this and this," and he does
And
this, and
he becomes that guy.
He becomes that guy, and you're just like, "Wow, this is amazing!" And I can't live without this. Every day is just an exciting new day. But the love bombing is definitely it's obsessive, and happens very quickly.
So that's a big flag. Now you can feel these feelings for someone. Honestly, you can say, "Oh my goodness, I've met this person and they just check all the boxes for me." But also have your antenna up as to how obsessive this person is being towards you. And then look for the other flags, like you said. Are they isolating you? Are they wanting to just spend all their time with you and make you feel good about, and they're interested in everything you're interested in? It's
right.
like,
Yes.
everything you're interested in, they're into.
Watch your Facebook. Watch how many things you put up on your. I would say one of the things when I wanted to help people after recovery was that a lot of this was digital stalking at a point, and technology stalking. And what people will come to do when they're doing digital stalking is they will look at your Facebook, they will look at your Instagram, they'll find out every little detail about you, and they will mimic it or mirror it because they already know. You haven't even told them, but when they say that without you prompting it, and you just think, wow, we're a match made in heaven. Oh no, they figured you out before they came to the table. They've done their research. They're ready for you. They set their sights on you. They're not coming in empty handed or, without some knowledge about what's going to make you click. So,
Wow.
I do think,
it's so insidious.
Yeah. It's a crazy, I don't know. It's hard for me. It's not hard now, but it was hard for me to believe that that's what that person was doing. But they were infiltrating my social media. They were going into my emails, going into my text messages, and seeing exactly what was happening everywhere in my moments when I wasn't with that person, which was very limited. Like when I was showering, basically.
You were working there. You were living there.
It wasn't. There was no time, and the thing is, like, he still found ways to talk to other people, and then he would accuse you. The other thing with this that this person will do is accuse you of doing things that they do. when they start breaking you down and like want to degrade you a little bit or make you feel bad about something that you're not even doing. His biggest thing was always cheating and like very extreme jealousy. And I'm like, how do you think I'm cheating with you? I have no time to myself at all.
Right?
Yeah. And so he would look for things weird like that and in my text messages and my phone calls. And I'm like, that was my son. And how do you know that anyway? A lot of technology can go work against you. So I think women need to be really careful about what you put out there for somebody to know about you, how personal you get on these social media places, because it's not that hard for just to delve deep into your life and suddenly someone knows so much more about you than you think is even possible. And there's some things that can infer from what you post, what's going on in your world. So.
Absolutely. That's great advice right there. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with some more revelations from Meg, because this is really important, especially if we have young women watching that are just getting started in the dating world, and just, you're putting everything out there on Instagram and on social media, to be careful. Keep some things to yourself. So we're gonna be right back with Meg in a second.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today. This episode is produced by Red Carpet CEO, a proud member of BOMA, the Black-Owned Media Alliance, advocating to close the disparity in advertising for Black-owned media. This show is sponsored by Audacious Concepts, Inc., a boutique consulting firm that provides audacious solutions to those nagging and persistent people problems clogging your revenue pipeline. For more information, visit audaciousconceptsinc.com. Now, here's a word from our other sponsors.
Are you curious about marijuana? Florida A&M University established the Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, also known as MARY, to educate the public about medical marijuana use, as well as the detrimental health and social impacts of unlawful marijuana use on local communities. Empower yourself with knowledge. Find out more at mmeri.famu.edu. mmeri.famu.edu. MARY. Educate, learn, talk.
Welcome back. I am here on Love My Body, Love Myself. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and we're talking to Meg Grett-Pratt. And this has been a fascinating conversation, and I encourage all women to go back. If you've missed the first half of the show, go back and watch it. It's really, she's talking about from her own experience, the toxicity that can happen in a relationship, especially when you're dating a narcissist that is abusive and isolates you, and then kind of creates this bubble that you feel like you can't escape from. So I'm going to bring back Meg to continue this conversation. So Meg, welcome back.
Thank you.
So we talked about the isolation effect, and how he was systematically kind of breaking you down and keeping you away from people that you knew and loved, and making excuses for his behavior, having you make excuses for his behavior. After it became physical, what were some of the things that you tried to do? Did you try to escape right away, or did you say, this is only one time? I'm a smart person. I'm not going to allow someone to do this to me. But then you stayed. What actually happened after that first time?
That's one of those things that people, when you're like, and why did I go that way? So the first time I got physical, it actually became law enforcement got involved. I was scared. I ran from the home with no shoes on in the middle of winter, and just luckily enough, came upon some cops coming through the roundabout and flagged them down. And so I just got lucky because there was my phone was destroyed. He'd already taken the phone. I had no keys because he'd thrown my keys away from my car, and I was pretty much trapped there. So
Wow.
Going there, we were dual arrested. When he came driving up in my car, which I'm, again, at that point, I said, this guy doesn't have a license. Why is he driving my car? He didn't have permission. They didn't take into account that. But when they came back over to him, he had literally taken his own fingernails and scratched and had blood running down his neck. And he said I had done that. I said, for one, I didn't know. I was so shocked when it happened. I did not have a chance to do anything as, going back and forth physical. But sorry, to get back to your point, we went to jail and we spent 3 days there for domestic violence, dual arrest. And my life was changing then. And I thought, I didn't do anything. Why am I getting punished for this?
Didn't they check your fingernails to see if you had his skin under your fingernails?
Oh, no. They just said that's what he said. And that's what we have to go by. You've assaulted him now, too. And I said, I didn't. I don't, looking and, I was very shocked by that. And because they come back and I had me in the car where I said, oh, there's my car coming up. That's got to be him. Because it was about a half a mile away from where the house was, where we got to the cops. And so, and the whole time, he's played this game before. He was a career criminal. To find out, there's so many backstories to him. It went on and on and on. But I did leave. I went to a hotel. I decided to move home. And this is the part that's crazy, is that he just didn't quit. Even though we had restraining orders, it just kept going. And even the day I was getting booked or getting arraigned, his lawyer came up and asked, he'd like to help you. I said, I don't want his help. He's helped me enough now. I don't want any help from him. So I did leave, and then it kept coming back. Oh, I love you. I want you back. I'm so sorry. And there was a pattern. And when people ask women, why did they leave? There's still a connection, because then became the threats. Like, I'll hurt your son. I'll hurt your family. I'll take away this from you. I'll tell your husband about this, or your ex-husband about this. It was always some sort of threat. And it kind of, in a way, I didn't tell anybody about what's happening in my world in the first place, because I was embarrassed. I made a mistake by leaving my husband, and that now this is the first relationship I had gotten into. So I went back, I believe physically went back 6 times. And each time,
and that builds even more guilt and even more shame and even more control. He has even more control,
right?
Because he knows it's working.
Yeah, he knows it's working. And even the first time I went back, we met, and I actually met him because he had posted something as this picture when we were in Hong Kong, and I only knew that picture on the Google Meet thing, and I was like, that's got to be him. And I clicked on it, it had a fake name. Right away, I knew it was him. I was still living at home, and I don't know why I even started conversing back with him. But then he was, I missed you in this. I said, you got to stop. I don't want to do this. And about 3 months, he'd worn me down, and we decided to meet. And on the way out of the meeting, I meant to just go and say, this is it. Please stop. And I said over and over. Somehow we stayed the night at this place, and he poisoned me on the way out. And I fell down and busted my chin open. I have 32 stitches across my chin. And that was a consistent MO for him, is when we go back, he would do something more violent. And yet I went back, and it blows my mind.
I'm just glad you're still alive, sweetie.
I think, there's got to be something to be learned from this. And I think the biggest thing I always think how far my relationship went is people to have those red flags in the beginning and recognize them and not let it get this far.
Yeah. That's why I appreciate you reaching out to the show, to come on the show, because there may be someone out there that is experiencing this in the beginning stages and starting to see some of these things and thinking, oh, it's nothing.
Right.
But you're that cautionary tale of how bad it can get if you ignore the red flags at the beginning.
Well, it doesn't end, and it affects your life way after it's gone. Mentally, physically, you have all these repercussions from what's happened to you. Most of the time, abuse will start with emotional abuse a lot of the time and break you down your psyche. And I think a lot of women will say, or a lot of victims will say, it hurt me even after he was gone. And even after I knew it wasn't true, what he would say about me, it was a scar on the back of my mind, and it inhibited me from living again.
Because this is someone who you loved and trusted, or you created that bond with, that is saying things about you, but that love is still there, that you had for them, not that they had for you, because what they had for you was not love.
Yeah.
But you had a bond with them, and so it's hard for you to break that bond.
It is. It's difficult, and if there's any sort of anything kind of pulling you back in there, it's they know how to use it enough. I would think today, I would say, wow, why would you walk back into that? You knew he was violent. You know he's going to get crazy. You knew he had the potential to. The second time he did it, you were in a hospital, and someone could have. They were asking you. They're begging you to tell them what
happened. Who did this to you?
Tell us, like, give us his name. And I was like, I don't know. It just happened. I just fell and hurt myself. People were begging to help me, and I couldn't let them in because I was afraid. I was afraid of what he was going to do to other people and to my to my family.
So how did you get yourself out of it? Finally?
Well, that's the miracle part, because it's I would say it went on for a number of years. I actually was physically gone from him and living in a safe house for quite a few years. And then I came back home because he was still happening. Things were still happening technology wise. And in 2020, I thought that was the end. I couldn't take anymore. I was tired. I was tired of my family being tired. And it was very close. I was waiting for the special day. That's not anybody's special day, any sort of special moment that someone's going to be tragedized with what I was about to do. And I woke up one morning and my phone hadn't been tagged. There was like messages that weren't read. There were my social media didn't look like it had been like kind of touched the night before. My car wasn't broken into that night. It was just all these weird things, and day after day for like about 3 to 5 days. And that was just about the time COVID hit as well. About that time, by the 5th day, I kind of realized myself and said to my mom, I don't know, but something's different. Like, I feel like not so anxious today, and it's not happening like it usually does my days. And I got my computer and things weren't happening. Like, my cursors weren't moving, things weren't happening. And by the second week, I had this light inside of me, and I can't explain it really. I just say it's a miracle, because it just like he dropped off the face of the planet and things stopped happening. And the coincidence about COVID, I mean, he spent a lot of time in Hong Kong. I'm not sure how that worked out, but for me, it was my lifesaver. My kids came back home.
It just disappeared.
It just disappeared. It just stopped. There's no more. And my mental health came back so swiftly, just because, for one, my kids were back home with me because of COVID. So that was like, I had the people I really loved around me, because I had a lot of time I couldn't spend with them because of him. Because I wasn't stable. I wasn't ready. I couldn't be there for them the way I wanted to be there for them. But even they were like, you seem happy. You seem different. You seem like there's a little bit of light on you now. And from there, it's kind of grown. And then after a year, I wanted to give back. I'm like, how do I help somebody else? And so I started studying digital forensics, and I wanted to do that. And then just start speaking to people with stories, and then giving people some of these tips. And they're like, you should really share this message with other people. And that's kind of where we're at. And it feels good to do what I'm doing. So
that is awesome. And so you're studying digital forensics so you can help trace and track people who are stalking other people on digital media. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, first of all, for what you went through. I mean, but thank God you are okay. Your family's okay. Your kids are okay, and they're safe. You said something that I wanted to ask. Do you regret getting a divorce?
I regret not pushing a little bit harder after the new relationship was so tragic. I think that boring could have been. I mean, I always kept saying, I only have one life to live. I don't want to live this way. I don't want to live so in a boring world, like someone who doesn't want to talk to me and be part of my world. But I would trade it back for anything versus the world I got myself into.
Mm.
I have a great relationship with my ex-husband, but yeah, he's gone on, he's moved on, he's happy, but he's been very supportive throughout this whole
That's
whole
good.
thing with
That's
my
good.
kids and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
good
really
for him.
good.
Yeah.
And how about you now? What are you up to now?
Well,
I
I'm
mean, relationship wise, have you
relationship-wise,
relationship with yourself and then relationships?
relationship with myself is loving myself, really forgiving myself and
Mm.
letting me know that you can trust yourself again. It's really hard to say that you can trust. I think that's the hardest part for me getting in relationships is saying, are you real? Is this really who you are? Are you going to turn on me and it will be too late? Will I not recognize it again? It's kind of it's a scary thing for me. But I do have a couple of people that I communicate with and once in a while go out with, but nothing serious at this time. I just I'm a little cautious. I would say still.
Yeah,
Even
I bet. I mean,
but,
that was very traumatic what you went through. For many years you went through that. So I can just imagine it's gonna take you some time to um, fully be able to trust someone else
right.
again, not just with your heart, but with everything, your my whole self.
Easy.
Because
It's a big deal. I just say you don't recover, just bounce back. But I do think like I open myself up to being out there in the world because again, I said I wanted to live. I didn't. This is my one life to live. I don't want to not live it with some love. But
yes,
right now I spend most of my time like I guess loving my children too much. So
I don't think that's possible to love your children too much. You can love them. So do you have something like the top 10 dating tips or something like that that you share with people that you can give us, either if you have in a document or if you just want to rattle them off? Let me know, what are some of those tips that you share?
okay. Give me some of the tips. Top 5 probably would be 1, never share your address on any of the social media. Don't take your picture on social media in your home and send it right away to someone else that you don't know. If something doesn't feel right, my biggest number 1 thing I would say is if it doesn't feel right, which is your gut, which is your instincts, don't make an excuse. Don't pass it by. Don't say, oh, I just must feel a little sick for some other reason. That is your instinct and it's talking to you saying, stop. It's time. Something's not right here. And your body knows it. So just, stop and take it in here. That's one. Okay. And yeah, so I a lot of it's teaching the instinct of stopping, stopping there. If you feel like you're being stalked or someone's watching you or someone is, knows too much about you, be safe in getting out of it. A lot of people, the first thing they want to do is get rid of their phone. Get rid of it. This is your evidence. Keep it. Get a safe phone. I talk a lot about stalking because I was stalked within my relationship. I wasn't just stalked after the relationship ended. It was within the relationship. He knew where I was at, what I was doing. Your camera on your phone, get a little cover for it. If someone really wants to see you, they can turn your camera on and they can watch you through your cameras. So, it doesn't take a genius. I mean, when I got into digital forensics, I would like to say that people would say, oh, this is far-fetched kind of things. But for $60, it's amazing what people can do or what they can buy for torturing people, I guess, in my opinion. But if I have to say something,
they tag your phone, the GPS your phone,
spyware on your phone.
Your emails.
Right.
Spyware on your phone.
Don't ever share your passwords with someone. No one needs to have your passwords. That's another big one. If someone insists on seeing your passwords, they're probably not the right person. They don't need this. Relationships should be built on trust and respect. And if they can't trust or respect, have boundaries. Setting boundaries is a healthy thing. And it's really good in the beginning. If someone has a behavior and you're like, that didn't make me feel so good. If you feel like you can communicate it safely, let them know how you're feeling. And if it doesn't change, it's probably not the relationship for you. That
person's not the right person for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what you shared with the passwords, because someone will turn that on you and say, well, don't you trust me, right? Trying to manipulate you Well,
Right.
don't you trust me? Well, yes, and you should trust me too. And my passwords are my passwords. And, I don't want to give them out to
Right.
anyone. And I don't know you that well yet. you know?
I don't think you don't. Well, you never know when it's going to turn into kind of like the thing with like people sexting these days. You never know what's going to turn into revenge porn, and people are going to turn those images back on you. You're in love at that moment. Everything's fine and dandy,
Wonderful. And then things
and
don't
then
go wonderful. And all of a sudden they have blackmail material on you.
Right. And if they have your passwords and they have access to change your social media or delete people from your social media, post messages for you, it's just not good. And the other thing is, if people have your passcode to your phone, they literally have passcode to all your passwords, because your whole life is in there, and then you've saved it all on that phone. So keep things private, set boundaries, trust your gut, and your body knows when something's not right.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
if you have any questions about what's not right, think back to some of the story and go, oh, I don't want to do that. What was that first thing that she had? The first thing I had was that, he just gave me that weird vibe. He was a yeller and a screamer, and I should have, he did that in business, but I thought he was just under stress, and that was the excuse I made there. But it didn't make me feel good. I was like, this is kind of weird, this way he makes you feel when he yells, and just in business ways. And it should have been my red flag to go, is this how he's going to be in personal life too? And I just, you make excuses.
Oh, that is so big. That is so big. If there's a behavior that someone is displaying that makes you uncomfortable, even if it's a setting where I never even thought about that. Even if it's a setting where it's not a romantic setting, or like a relationship or anything like that, because back to the excuses, we tend to make excuses for things, even if it's uncomfortable for us. We tend to excuse that in that person because we don't want to seem like the bad guy, or we don't want to seem like we're too picky, or we're too finicky, or we don't want to look bad. So we excuse someone else's bad behavior even when it makes us uncomfortable.
Totally.
We don't want to call it out.
Right. Yeah, I think it's you don't want to be the prude. You don't want everyone to be like, oh, she's the one who's going to cause problems all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I was succeeding in what I was doing. And so everyone thought that I could balance him out. We worked with all his friends and family.
But that's the other thing. It's like, oh, he's not like that with me. I can balance him. I can change him. As women tend to do that a lot. And if you've never had that idea in your head, woman, this lady that I'm speaking to on the show, kudos to you. But we do tend to think we're that special that we're going to change this bad behavior. We're going to be the ones to change him.
Oh yeah.
And listen, nuh-uh. don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah, he's perfected his personality and how it's going to be. And even though people would give me, oh, he's so much better when you're around him, or he's better to his kids, or he's better to this, he actually does stuff when you ask him to do it. It was just part of the whole game. He knew he knew all the pieces all the way out. I kind of put a ruffle in that whole putting your restraining order, but other than that,
that is big, because people again want to confirm, oh, he's so much better. You guys are so good together, and he's so much better with you. He doesn't yell as much and stuff. But then when the doors are closed, how is he?
Right. Yeah. The average time when he would start a fight and start something physical, and to the very end would be 6 hours. I would sit on a couch, curled up in a ball, or on the floor, waiting for him to finish. And when I realized how much time it took on those kind of things, and then I have to go up and put my smiley face on and go, hi, everybody, I'm here for work today. And everyone's like, oh, you guys look so happy. And I'm like, oh, gosh, why am I still smiling? I want to cry. I want to run. And I wasn't running. And so,
yeah.
Oh, definitely. Wow. There's a whole bunch of different person there.
Meg, you have shared some really important signals for people to look out for. Because ladies out there, and men too, the The percentage is lower on the side for men, but it does still happen in abusive relationships where women are abusing men. And I'm not for any kind of abuse in a relationship at all. So isolation is a big one. When they do things that don't make you feel good. These are things that Meg has shared with us. When they do, the first time they do something that doesn't make you feel good and you don't feel like you can say something about it, or if you do say something about it and they blow it up or blow it off, you know, kind of question that a little bit more.
Definitely.
Because if something is your internal gut, something inside your instinct is telling red flag, and you're ignoring it, you're going to keep going down a road that might end up in disaster. And we want to try to give you as many tools as possible to kind of wake you up to say, oh, wait a second. I heard this girl talk about this. Let me really pay attention to this and see how many times this is happening and see if it's directed at me and how that makes me feel and do something about it. Meg, anything else you want to share with our audience before we close?
I would just say, if you think you have any gut saying anything that's wrong in your relationship, you are a queen. You deserve to be treated like a queen. Don't let your king treat you awful. Like, this is your own one life you get to live.
Don't be Henry VIII.
Yes, that's right. Like, you go out and live it and get your help or get out of the relationship. Whatever you can do, just so you can live the best life you have. That would be my advice, is that just if you don't feel like you're being treated like a queen, then you probably aren't being his queen. So
you're not his queen. If you don't feel like you're being treated like a queen, you're not his queen. I love that. So, yeah, he might be Henry VIII. He's out there trying to behead you.
Watch out.
Don't do it. Don't stay. So listen, contact Meg on Facebook. She's at Dating Tips by Meg. And on email, it's datingtipsbymeg@gmail.com. She studied digital forensics. So if you have any question that someone's tagged your phone, or they're watching you through your phone, or something's, people are using your digital devices against you, give Meg a call, connect with her, help you find out more, because they're going to need this evidence. Some people, like she said, don't get rid of it. Don't get rid of your phone. This is evidence. So if it might be a case where they're going to need to have some evidence of the stalking. So reach out to Meg, datingtipsbymeg@gmail.com, or on Facebook, Dating Tips by Meg. So Meg, thank you so much for being a guest on the show and highlighting this very, very important issue for women.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And getting the word out there. I mean, the more people who have just that inkling of something's wrong, I think you have a chance of having a better life and getting out of something bad.
And I'm thankful that you're safe and that you're still here with us, and that you're sharing your message to help other women to be strong. And I'm glad that you love yourself again.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for highlighting that in your world. That's a great, wonderful message to send to people. So
thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, this has been another episode of Love My Body, Love Myself. And I'm going to let Alicia close it off. Now, that was a powerful, powerful episode with Meg. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. If you left comments, thank you so much for your comments. And it's a really important topic. I invite you to share this message out with every woman that you know, anyone who's dating, anyone who is maybe a teenager, a young adult who is, still looking, trying to find the right one for them, to give them those warning signs, the things that they need to look out for when the partner is trying to isolate you from your friends or family, when there's extreme jealousy, when that first pops up. Meg said something about when it first started, that if someone makes you uncomfortable when they start with that, recognize that. That's a sign. If they make you uncomfortable, say something. Don't just sit there and make excuses for it, because it could mean the difference between your life or imprisonment or misery, or like her trying to escape and almost, it being a very dangerous situation. So pay attention to the warning signs. And like I said, share this out with a friend. And with that, I encourage you to do something for yourself that proves to yourself that you love your body and you love yourself. And I'll see you next time. Mwah.